From next month, our eldest son and his wife will move in with us. You, who just lounges around all day, don't have a say in this, okay? I do housework and work all day. I'm not just lounging around, you know? It's normal for a wife to do housework. And you say you're working, but it's just work from home, right? It's no different from being a shut-in. I don't need a shut-in for a wife. If you have a complaint, you can leave right now. For years, my husband Jeff had stopped listening to me. He decided to live with our eldest son and his wife without asking me and tried to kick me out. He glared at me with a mix of irritation and anger, but I calmly told him, "What? Who are you calling a shut-in? I moved to a new place that costs $3,500 in rent." "What? What are you talking about? Moving to a new place with a rent of $3,500? Who would believe such a lie? I really don't have time to listen to your jokes. I'm going on a trip from today. And don't you dare call me while I'm away, okay?" Saying so, Jeff left the house in high spirits. He really is a foolish man. To call me a shut-in without knowing anything, well, he will be the one to regret, not me. I should start getting ready. With that thought, I made a phone call on my smartphone. A few days later, I was relaxing in my room when my phone vibrated. I saw that it was Jeff's name on the screen. I had left it on silent mode on the sofa, so I didn't notice it at first, but it seems he had been calling many times. I thought about ignoring him, but then I remembered and tapped the screen. It was the day Jeff was supposed to return from his trip. "Hello?" "You finally picked up, Courtney. Where are you now?" As soon as I answered the phone, Jeff yelled. He seemed very distraught. "When I got home, all the furniture and appliances were gone. It must be your doing, right? What did you do while I was on a trip?" "I asked the movers to take them out." "What? Moved out? Did you really move out?" "You were the one who told me to leave." "But that doesn't mean you can just do whatever you want. The room is empty. How are we supposed to live when our eldest son and his wife move in soon?" "Well, all the furniture and appliances in the house were bought by me. I used my savings from before I was married, so I can do whatever I want with them, right?" "I know you bought them, but..." When I responded with a cold voice, Jeff's tone became feeble. "You seem to understand, to some extent. Jeff has always spent money as soon as he has it and had zero savings since our marriage. I bought all the furniture and appliances for the house. It's only natural that I would take them with me when I move." But Jeff calmed down only for a moment. "Just because you bought them with your money doesn't mean you can move them out without permission. A wife's belongings are also the husband's." Jeff lost his temper over the phone. No matter how much I reasoned with him, it seems useless with this man. He is still so selfish. I chuckled to myself and retorted, "Aren't you one to talk? You decided to live with our eldest son and his wife without asking me." Jeff decided to live with our eldest son and his wife without consulting me and tried to kick me out. So I left the house without consulting him, taking only what belonged to me. Still, Jeff was furious. He yelled so loudly that he hurt my ears. "Don't act all high and mighty when you're just a shut-in. Listen, come back right now and put everything back as it was." I sighed softly. Jeff is always like this. When he finds himself in a disadvantageous position, he tries to manage by shouting. But I faced him without flinching with a calm voice. "I told you before you went on your trip, and I moved to a new place. It's more than an hour's drive from your house, so I can't come immediately." "What?" "I'll bring the divorce papers to you tomorrow, so please sign them." "Divorce papers? Don't joke with me. I won't accept a divorce. Jeff was ranting, but I hung up the phone without bothering. I got tired of talking because of his stupidity. He says, leave, but then he hates the idea of divorce. Doesn't he see the contradiction? Well, I knew why he was reluctant about the divorce. Despite the continuous calls from Jeff, I turned off the phone because it was annoying. Surely Jeff must have returned from his trip in a good mood. It was a trip with a few friends from his student days, doubling as a reunion. He must have bought a lot of souvenirs, but when he opened the door, the room was empty. He must have been dumbfounded. Just imagining my foolish husband's helpless expression made me break into a smile. Let him disappear in the empty room. The next day I returned to the house where Jeff was. It's a Scandinavian-style house in a quiet residential area. It's strange how it felt like someone else's home, even though I had lived there for decades. Perhaps it's because I no longer have any attachment to this house or Jeff. I slowly parked in the parking spot next to the entrance. Maybe he sensed my arrival from the engine sound as Jeff immediately came out from the entrance. Courtney, you really did it. As expected, Jeff greeted me with a face twisted in anger, but the moment he saw the person who got out of the car after me, his expression changed. What? Matt! Lisa is here too? That day, it wasn't just me who came to the house, but also our eldest son and his wife. Why are Matt and his wife here? I hadn't informed them in advance that I would be bringing our eldest son and his wife, so Jeff looked a bit flustered. However, Father, sorry for intruding. When Lisa, the eldest son's wife, greeted Jeff with a smile, his face brightened. Ah, Lisa, please, come in, come in. His tone was much gentler compared to when he greeted me. Jeff had said he wanted to live with our eldest son and his wife. He must be very welcoming to them. Then, as if I was not even in his field of vision, Jeff ushered the young couple into the house. We'll be living here together soon. I'm so happy to live in such a beautiful house with a garden. The eldest son's wife was in a good mood. Normally, one wouldn't want to live with their in-laws, but according to our son, having lived in a cramped apartment since childhood, living in a spacious house was her dream. However, in contrast to the cheerful Jeff and Lisa, our eldest son Matt had been silent all this time. What's wrong, Matt? Are you feeling ill? Jeff seemed puzzled by our son's unusual silence. Matt is usually more proactive in conversation, so it was unusual for him to be quiet. Hey, Matt, actually, I just got back from a trip. It was great after a long time. Of course, I bought souvenirs for you and Lisa too. Despite Jeff's cheerful talk, Matt did not respond. Deciding it was pointless to continue trying to engage, Jeff shrugged and opened the living room door. But as soon as they entered the room, Matt spoke. Dad, what's going on? The room's empty. Dad, well, Jeff's face turned sour. Then he exaggeratedly sighed and said to his son and daughter-in-law, It's a mess. Your mom asked the movers to take everything without telling me. She says she can do whatever she wants because she paid for it with her own money, but it's too much to take all the furniture and appliances. We were supposed to live here together. I decided we would live with you and your wife, and she got angry and moved out. It's unbelievable for a mother to be against living with her son and his wife. Jeff glanced at me briefly before turning back to Matt. It's such a waste for just an old couple to live in this big house. Maybe your mom didn't want to be burdened with babysitting if you guys had kids. I'd be happy to take care of my grandchildren, but Your mom is cold, isn't she? I couldn't help but chuckle. He had left all the child raising to me, but he thinks differently when it comes to taking care of grandchildren. But knowing Jeff, he probably forgot that he never had any childbearing experience. He probably wanted to convince Matt that he's a child-loving father while I'm a selfish mother who doesn't care about her children. Matt, meanwhile, listened to Jeff's rant with an impassive face, not moving a muscle, perhaps frustrated by his son's demeanor. What do you think, Matt? Don't you think your mom is terrible? Jeff leaned in close to Matt's face. Then Matt unzipped the bag he brought, took out a tablet, and started playing a video in front of his stunned father. What? What is this? Jeff stared wide-eyed at the tablet. It showed a scene where Jeff was yelling at me. Hey, Courtney, isn't the food ready yet? It's disgraceful for a wife to make her husband wait. There's dust on the stairs. Pick it up, right now. Seriously, can't you even clean properly? How long have you been a housewife? Seeing it on video, it was astonishing how blatantly he was harassing his wife. It sounded like something out of a cartoon, but Jeff was seriously saying these things. Matt, when did you record this? Jeff frantically snatched a tablet from Matt and clutched it to his chest. I didn't record it. This is a video Mom gave me. Hearing this from his son, Jeff looked at me. What? Courtney. Actually, I've been recording your harassment with a hidden camera to keep evidence. Matt needs to know your true nature too. I smiled and said, So that's why Matt has been silent? Jeff finally seemed to understand. Yes, Matt had been silent because he was furious with his father. Matt looked straight at Jeff and said, You pretended to be a good father in front of me, but you were harassing Mom like this. Even the living arrangement was a lie, right? You said, Your mom really wants to live with you guys. As if it was Mom's selfish desire, but in reality, you decided it all by yourself. No, I wasn't harassing her. It was just a bad moment during an argument. I suggested living together for Mom's sake. We're both in our 50s. Still young, but eventually we'll get old and won't be able to move around. Living with the son and his wife is definitely safer. Realizing that Matt already knew his true nature, Jeff became flustered. Matt listened silently to his father's excuses. Then, thinking that Matt understood, Jeff's face relaxed. You're my son, Matt. You've always been Daddy's boy. I knew you'd take my side. You know better than anyone that I wouldn't bully your mom. As he said this, he reached out to pat Matt's shoulder. What? Actually, there's something else I want you to see. Matt took the tablet back from Jeff and played another video. What? There's more? Jeff stood, his mouth agape, frozen in shock. The video now playing showed Jeff and Lisa, the eldest son's wife, embracing each other in the living room where we all were gathered right now. I had already seen this footage, and no matter how many times I watched it, it was repulsive and nauseating. I never imagined my own father and wife would be having an affair. Matt said to Jeff, who was staring dumbfounded at the tablet. Jeff murmured without looking away from Matt. Matt, how long have you known? About 6 months. Lisa started leaving the house frequently. I didn't mind her going out and I let it be for a while, but when she started coming home late night after night, I suspected infidelity and started investigating. The results were blatantly clear. Lisa was meeting a man secretly, and that man was you, Dad. So even before Mom told me about your true nature, I knew you were only pretending to be a good father. A good father wouldn't seduce his son's wife. Jeff was speechless. Knowing nothing, he had been desperately making excuses, so he probably felt too ashamed to say anything. So, Lisa, since Dad seems unable to speak, why don't you explain that fear? Lisa, confronted by Matt, bit her lip and remained silent. Everything was out in the open. There was no room for excuses now. I thought that. But it's your fault! Incredibly, Lisa had the audacity to blame Matt. Just moments ago, she had been trembling, avoiding the video, but her quick shift was impressive. I was dissatisfied with our marriage. You work for a major corporation and earn a lot, so I thought marrying you would mean a life of luxury. But you're so annoyingly serious and strict about managing money. You're always nagging me to keep a proper household budget and only give me a little allowance. I got fed up with you, so I cheated for some relief. Honestly, there's no point in being married if you won't let me spend money freely, even if you earn a lot. So Lisa married Matt for his money. It was a known fact, but hearing it from her directly made it all the more infuriating. At this point, Matt asked Lisa, then why did you specifically choose to have an affair with my dad? Because Jeff listens to everything I say, Lisa said with a sly smile. Unlike you, Matt, he's generous and indulges all my whims. That's why I switched. I see. You just wanted to live luxuriously, but Dad has a wife, my mom. Didn't you feel any guilt about taking someone else's husband? Matt was clearly angry, though he kept his emotions in check. But Lisa responded with a nonchalant expression. Guilt? No way. Your mom is just a shut-in. She claims to be working from home, but according to Jeff, she's just playing on her computer. A useless old woman who doesn't do any housework and just plays around deserves to be dumped. Matt immediately retorted. Who's the one not doing any housework and just playing around? You're a full-time housewife, yet you go out every night, and when you are home, you just spend time on your hobbies and barely do any housework. Lisa was unapologetic. Well, I'm still young and cute, so I have value just for that, right? But in your mom's case, she's just old and useless. Even if your dad works outside, she's just trying to make a little money at home. You really don't know anything. Matt was utterly exasperated. Then, picking up the tablet again, he said, Actually, Mom is a web writer, working from home. When she talks about her home-based work, she's referring to her job as a writer. She earns by writing novels and blogs. A writer? Jeff tilted his head, obviously uninterested and unaware of what kind of work his wife had been doing. No way. As if some ordinary old lady could write novels. Lisa seemed incredulous at Matt's words, laughing dismissively. At that moment, Matt showed the tablet screen to both of them. You've seen this writing before, right? Huh? What's that? What? Something your mom wrote? Jeff and Lisa leaned closer to look at the tablet. They both read the text on the screen for a while, but Jeff quickly looked away from the tablet. Never seen that before. Must be some amateur stuff someone wrote for fun. But Lisa was glued to the screen. Then she muttered, looking intently at me. This novel. Could it be? To her, Matt said, It seems like Lisa has realized it. Your hobby was reading romance novels, right? Especially you really liked one author and you said, I forget to eat and sleep when I'm reading her novels. that author you love so much is actually my mom." "No way." Lisa's complexion changed. She had been a fan of the novels without knowing that I was the author. "I've always greatly admired the author of this novel. I've read many romance novels, but not many people can entertain others like this. But to think that the author was your mom?" You know, mom has a lot of fans, right? If she's this famous, you can imagine how much she earns. Aren't you embarrassed to call her a shut-in just because she's at home? "I'm so sorry." Suddenly Lisa knelt down and bowed deeply to me. "Mother, I didn't know anything. I'm truly sorry." Upon closer inspection, tears were overflowing from her eyes. Having snatched away the husband of someone she deeply admired and scorned her as a shut-in, she must have been intensely regretting her actions. Lisa, the eldest son's wife, repeated apologies like chanting a mantra. Knowing she was a devoted reader of mine, I began to feel somewhat sorry for her. Among the romance novels I've written, there are stories of forbidden love between in-laws or siblings. It's unlikely she got the idea for this affair from my novels, but if they influenced her even slightly, it complicates my feelings. However, I spoke sternly. "Aren't you apologizing to the wrong person?" Slowly, Lisa raised her head. Her makeup was smeared from the tears, and the heavy eye makeup made her eyes look stark black. "Matt is the one who is most hurt by this. I just had Jeff cheat on me, but Matt was betrayed by two family members, his wife and his father." Then Lisa quickly turned towards Matt and, just as she had done to me, bowed deeply. "Matt, I'm sorry. I didn't know your mother was a novelist and I cheated with your father. I really respect your mom a lot. I won't belittle her anymore, so please forgive me." But Matt coldly rejected her. "Not knowing is no excuse. But the fact that you cheated doesn't change. Even if mom had been just a housewife, you had no right to call her a shut-in." "I understand, but—" Lisa was crying as she clung to Matt. Watching this, Jeff finally seemed to believe me. "So, Courtney moving to a new apartment with a rent of $3,500 was true?" he asked timidly, glancing at my face. I replied with an exasperated tone. "It looks like you finally believe me. I earned that much from my novels and blogs. To you, it probably just looked like I was playing on the computer." I I was wrong. I'll take you as my example and change my ways to work seriously. Of course, I'll break up with Lisa. So, could we start over? Please don't talk about divorce." Before I could finish speaking, Jeff was kneeling before me and Matt, trembling as he begged. However, I felt no sympathy. "Work seriously, you say? That's laughable," I thought to myself, and decided to deliver the final blow by revealing another truth. "While you were on your trip, a notice of dismissal arrived." "What?" He gaped at me, unable to comprehend the situation, but then he yelled, changing color. "Dismissal? You're kidding!" "It's true. I left it here because it's yours. Didn't you notice?" I said, standing up and handing him an envelope that had been left on the shoe cabinet. He snatched the envelope from me and tremblingly pulled out the document inside. He looked down at it for a while, then slowly raised his head. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Well, you told me not to call you during your trip." "I did say that, but don't take everything I say so literally." He slumped his shoulders in despair. The dismissal notice had arrived the day after he left for his trip. Normally, I would have immediately notified him, but I adhered to his instruction not to contact him, so I kept silent. I was shocked when I read the reason for the dismissal. "Apparently, you've been engaging in misconduct at work." It seems it came out through an internal whistleblower, but I find it hard to believe that someone who gets fired for misconduct will change and start working seriously. Then I declared firmly, I will divorce you. You belittle your earning wife as a shut in, cheat with your son's wife, and get fired for misconduct. Staying with a man like you, I can't possibly be happy. I threw the signed divorce papers at him and got up to leave the house when. Wait, Courtney! He grabbed my arm. Looking up at me with a face about to cry, he said, I really regret it. I should have cherished you more. From now on, I won't say terrible things or push housework onto you. I need you. Please don't leave. Don't abandon me. I coldly replied, what you really need isn't me. It's money, right? Uh, why don't you be honest? You have debts, don't you? Jeff showed a confused expression when I pointed it out directly, but he eventually resigned himself to the truth. Yes, I've run up debts because I've been squandering money on Lisa. I suggested living with the son and his wife partly because I wanted to live with Lisa, but also because I thought I could rely on Matt. While he was technically in a managerial position, I had been the one supporting our family's lifestyle, yet his wallet was always empty before payday, all spent on drinking, gambling, and gifts for his mistress. On top of that, he had accrued debts. In this regard, Matt was meticulous. He managed the finances instead of his spendthrift wife and saved for the future. Jeff insisted on living with the son and his wife because he knew this. His primary motive was money. His talk of taking care of grandchildren was just a facade. For a father, it's embarrassingly pathetic. But then Jeff uttered an unbelievable statement. I really regret what I did to Matt, but it's not just me and Lisa who are to blame. If you had properly explained your work to us, none of this would have happened. Then, looking back and forth between Matt and me, Jeff said, come on, we're family, right? Let's forget about the past and work together as a family from now on. I promise I won't touch Lisa anymore. Before I could figure out what to say, Matt spoke up first. Dad, that's wrong. What? I can't forgive you, not for what you did to me, but for how you hurt Mom. You betrayed Mom, who has supported us all these years. I don't consider you family anymore, and obviously I won't live with you. With that, Jeff was left speechless and collapsed right there. Lisa also sat down on the floor in a daze. Leaving those two in the room, Matt and I left the house. After that, Jeff kept insisting he wanted to make amends, but I hired a lawyer and successfully finalized the divorce. Naturally, I demanded compensation for emotional distress from both Lisa and Jeff. Jeff had been fired, so his severance pay went entirely to compensation, and now he's barely getting by with part-time jobs. He sold the house we lived in for many years and now lives alone in an old, small apartment. It seems it was Jeff's dream to live a lively life with his son's family, but he never imagined ending up in such a miserable state in his later years. Matt and Lisa also divorced. After the divorce, Lisa hurriedly looked for a job, but with no work experience and a history of living selfishly, he was hardly able to hold down a decent job. Even her parents were furious about her misdeeds, so she couldn't return home. Consequently, Lisa drifted from job to job and now has found herself in an unspeakable profession, literally plummeting through life. Matt, too, was deeply shocked by being betrayed by his wife, remembering his married life became too painful, so he also moved out of the apartment he had shared with Lisa. Therefore, I suggested he stay in my apartment for a while, but he refused, saying, I can't depend on you, Mom. It's honestly lonely since the apartment is too big for one person. However, Matt and I occasionally meet for meals and share updates. Perhaps this distance is just right. As I reflected on my kind-hearted son, I roll up my sleeves and turn to my computer. It would be a waste not to use the ordeal I went through as a material for my work.